What is up, App Nation? It is Steve P. Young, founder of appmasters.com, the place you go when you want action-packed content related to helping you grow your app downloads and, more importantly, those revenues. And today I've got a phenomenal guest. We're going to talk all about product-led growth. How do you drive growth with some of the new features that you're building? And with me to break it all down, she is the head of product marketing at a brand that you might have heard about called OkCupid. So without further ado, let's bring in Jane Reynolds.
Hi.
Jane, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. That was a great countdown. I love that.
All right. I try to have some fun too. So I want to highlight OkCupid. I'm sure you guys have already heard about OkCupid. It's a great service, right? Go check it out. Here's the website, OkCupid, or just search for OkCupid within your app stores as well. But Jane, I want to break it down. Let's start off this. This is the teaser that I gave. But talk to me about, because here's what I feel, right? I feel like sometimes developers focus too much on features, thinking that it would lead to growth, when I feel like sometimes they should maybe focus on marketing first and foremost. How do you get downloads? How do you build those revenues? And then figure out the features. I like to go step by step. Grow, build new features, grow, build new features. But talk to me about how you approach this.
Yeah, so that's the beauty about product marketing. It's kind of blending the two and creating that bridge between them.
Yeah.
So, at OkCupid, the way that we think about it, it is true that first and foremost, when we're building new features, we're thinking about the users that we currently have and what their needs are, how to improve the experience for them. And, fortunately, just a little background on OkCupid and how we're different is on OkCupid, just to create an app and a profile, you have to answer 15 questions. And then you put up a photo and a bio. A lot of dating apps, it's just the photo and a brief bio, but we ask you to answer 15 questions. And then we actually have thousands of questions in the product that help people connect. And, we found that even though you only have to answer 15, a lot of our users actually end up answering 58 is actually the average, because people love these questions and they feed into our compatibility score. So yeah, exactly. We did this. I mean, this is maybe about 5 years ago or something, and they've still been around, and we add new questions all the time. But it's great because it can help you connect. It's a means of, starting conversations and finding those things that are, deal breakers versus things that are just okay, you and I might differ on this, but it's not going to stop me from saying yes to a date with you. So with OkCupid, what we found is with a lot of our product features, we actually get insights into what our users want through these questions and also their profiles. So, one example that OkCupid we're really proud of is we were the first dating app to release profile badges. And what those are is just a very clear indication on your profile about something that you really care about. And so back in 2017, that's when we released our very first badge. And it was the I Stand with Planned Parenthood badge. And the reason we added that is we started seeing so many of our users, particularly women, writing in their profile, if you don't support Planned Parenthood, swipe left. This was when Trump was threatening to defund Planned Parenthood at the time. So if you're not pro-choice, if you don't support Planned Parenthood, I don't want to match with you. And okay, so we see that in there, and then we're like, all right, this is interesting. We're definitely seeing an increase, but let's validate that further. So we added in a question, do you think, this is not the exact verbiage, but it was something along the lines of, do you think that Trump should defund Planned Parenthood? And we found that, a good number of our users really did not want that and wanted it to be very clear to their matches that they didn't. And so that's why we released the I Stand with Planned Parenthood badge. And it was great to see because first and foremost, again, it improved the experience for the users who had it. People with the I Stand with Planned Parenthood badge got 4 times more matches than people who didn't have it. And so we really saw that, matches, likes, those are the things that are important on a dating app and what really keeps you around. And so we saw it had this like wonderful impact. But then even better, we did see that it was able to impact growth to a degree because people were talking about it on social media. We
Hmm.
got press. Even Chelsea Handler tweeted about it in support
No
because
way.
she's a huge advocate of Planned Parenthood. And so, I agree with you that I think with the most product features, you're thinking at the core, how do I serve my users' best needs?
Right.
But then, the cherry on the top is when you're able to also have it leverage growth. And I think a lot of apps are like this, dating especially. Word of mouth is so important, right? For OkCupid, users in the US, 25% of those who answer the survey say that they joined OkCupid because it was recommended by friends or family. And
Mm.
so we know that if we're able to deliver these product features to our current users, then we're going to be able to bring in more users who hear about it, who hear about this positive experience, who hear, oh, OkCupid has this I Stand with Planned Parenthood badge. That's something that is really important to me. That's the kind of company I want to represent and use. And that's the kind of person I want to represent myself as on an app. And so then, therefore, it really does drive in more registrations.
So if I can break that down, Jane, you said, hey, we're starting to see some users doing this thing. Let's ask a question just to make sure we can validate that it's worth building this badge now and then releasing it. And
Yep.
did you, the, so these questions, is it one of those things where I see it right on app open? How did you prompt these questions?
Yeah. So the 15 questions in onboarding are like,
Right.
when you're going through the onboarding flow. The rest are delivered in various different ways. Sometimes we use CRM, like our push notification, email, etc., to drive users to a particular question. If we're really, wanting to drive engagement around it, get information on it quickly. It's also a great means of, driving engagement with users who maybe don't have as much attention inbound. So, if you're not getting likes that we're going to tell you about or matches, let's bring you in and have you answer these fun, interesting questions. And maybe it will be what helps you start a conversation with one of the matches that you do have to really be able to engage. But then also, another really awesome thing about OkCupid is when I see someone on OkCupid,
Yeah.
I see my compatibility score with them. So we have a match compatibility score that is a combination of it's an AI powered algorithm that looks at your preferences. It looks at how you've answered questions and also how you've rated questions because you can put somewhat important, very important, not so important, and which we give varying weights on to respect that. And so when I go in and I click on, okay, I'm, a 90% match with John, let me
Mhm.
see what we agree on, what we disagree on. You can go in there and see those questions that you've both answered. And then if John's answered a question that I haven't answered, and I'm curious to know what his response is, I can't like unlock his responses until I answer that question too. So users can, find it many different ways in the app. You can also find it from your profile to kind of unlock, more insights. And again, it's a real benefit to the user to answer more questions because the more we know about you, the better we can match you with other people who share your same, ideologies and values.
It seems like it's like one of these features that became the unique selling. I don't know if it was always the unique selling point, but if it was like the unique selling point and also drives engagement, drive usage, and then drives, like everything, like sort of spirals out of these questions.
Yeah, it's great. And it's so great too because it's a feature that, as someone like on the marketing team, I have easy
Mhm.
access to. And so we can add new questions all the time. And it really helps us stay relevant and in the conversation of like what's happening.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that you guys publish this too. It's like the most skipped questions, the most important questions, all
Yeah.
that. Do you believe in dinosaurs? Jane, do you believe in dinosaurs?
Yeah, I believe in dinosaurs, of course.
It's the most important. That's crazy. I do, but I'm like skeptical. I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I mean, it's like confidence scale, maybe an 8. That's the way I feel about it. I'm like, of course, but yeah. Anyways, it's pretty fun. Hey, Jane, you kind of talked about like re-engaging? You said push notifications, email. Have you found like a channel that's best for trying to re-engage your users?
Well, if it's something that, we really want to drive people to a new feature, et cetera, of course, like
Mhm.
in-app notifications, like right when you're in the app are a great way of doing that because we know we already have your attention. Of course, we don't want to be interrupting you from doing an activity that's important. So while in-app certainly can get the most engagement, we're very, cognizant of when we send an in-app, making sure that what we're telling you is super important and something that we really do want you to take action on. And then push notification, of course, that's a great means of really connecting with users, especially those who have been, more recently active. I think there's a time and a place for everything. Of course, we don't want to bring you out of the product too often. You're there because you want to be on OkCupid, so we don't want to try to send you off to our blog. Like usually when we do a blog story that we think would be interesting to our users, we largely do that via email. But there's a
Mm.
time and a place for everything. And it's just important for us to be able to engage with our users when we can.
Do you guys try to balance it out? Like, hey, this is for email, the emails for this, pushes for this. Do you guys have that type of strategy?
Yeah, and also just like dependent on your recent activity as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's super important to us that you know, we don't want to lose trust from our users, and so it's very important to use those channels certainly when we want to and when it makes sense, but to use them sparingly in the sense that we don't want to overwhelm people. And also we kind of like let you choose, right? You can select, I want to know about this kind of notification, I don't want to know about this notification.
I see. I love it. Are there any other interesting features you want to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, going back to just how OkCupid, we were founded in 2004, right? So we've been
Crazy.
around for a
Yeah.
while. And therefore we are fortunate to be kind of the first on a lot of different things. So one thing that we're very proud of and we continue to support the community is we were the very first dating app to release over dozens of gender and orientation options that users can identify as. And why this was so important is not only were we supporting those genders and orientations and getting visibility around them, but we were also making sure that we were matching you exactly on what you're saying that you're interested in and who you are. Sometimes what would happen is not on OkCupid, but elsewhere, it still was being matching you on a binary system. So you might
Mm.
say, I'm non-binary, but it was still matching you on this binary system. OkCupid's algorithm is super robust, super complex. I can't speak to how complex and amazing it is. Our engineers and data scientists, it's amazing what they can do. But it really does like respect all those things that how you identify, and also we recognize that orientation and gender are fluid, right? So you can change it whenever you want. You can have multiple, and I think that that's really important. Something we're proud of.
Now, do you guys do anything to promote these new features, these badges, or is it just like organic and it just takes off? Or do there's the PR person like pushing all this stuff too?
Yeah, no, we certainly, again, I think like the word of mouth marketing is so important, and these features really help us, especially if we don't have a brand campaign live at the time. This is really
Mm.
how we keep OkCupid relevant. And, I think our product features, especially when coupled with PR, are so important for increasing brand awareness and improving brand perception. We brought back we changed the name a little bit, but in 2021, when Roe versus Wade was overturned, again, we saw the same thing that we had seen 4 years prior of people just really being reinvigorated and really caring about, their matches being pro-choice. And so we released the I'm pro-choice badge and got over 5 billion media impressions around it.
What? Wow.
Yes. Just because it was so relevant at the time, it was so important, especially like with something that's so emotional as creating a relationship. These are things
Right.
that are super important to our users. And also just, we found that during the pandemic, and it has continued beyond, in matches, people really care about, about the value system of people and what's important to them. And so we found that, yep, there it is. So
There it is, New York
found that,
Times.
yeah, we
That's
got
what
a
we
New
have in
York
the visual.
Times
Yeah.
cover of it, which was amazing. And so, yeah, I think just like, using every marketing lever you can,
Yeah.
really, really can help drive and get the most out of each feature that you create.
Jane, I had an old boss who was like, Steve Jobs had a huge campaign all about copy and paste. Come on, we can come up with something to promote. And we were like a startup, like nobody knew our brand, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, that's Apple. Like, I don't know what to do. What would you have said to my boss? And I was just like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, I think no bad ideas in a brainstorm, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I had this dumb Super Bowl idea where I was literally shooting a bowl and I put a cape on it, and I was like, "Here's our Super Bowl ad." Like, didn't really do anything, but we threw it on YouTube and stuff. I do want to say hi to a few people. What's up, Luke? Ricardo is here. Kevin from Lakeland, Florida. Kevin Till on Facebook. Might be the lone Facebook viewer here. Demetrios, how you doing, brother? Eric is here. Miguel, good to see you. And then Urban Perzer. Okay. Numella. Okay. I think I remember talking to you, Steven. Good to see you again. Star Projectors is here. And then Asim says, sounds like a super interesting way of getting primary insights from users in a non-intrusive way. Back to your questions idea, too.
yeah.
And then Shoot Your Shot dating app is with us recorded. It's on YouTube. Yes, it's recorded. It's just going to live on YouTube forever. All right. Hey, Jane, I wanted to ask you, like, with all these new features, these badges, the questions, all that stuff, like, how do you measure the success of the feature? Is it through revenues? Is it through engagement? How do you guys measure the success of a new feature?
It's dependent on the feature, but largely with these product marketing features that we focus on,
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost is engagement and adoption. So, are the users who, not everything has to have super high adoption, right? Because again, especially with a dating app, things that are polarizing, that's okay. It actually helps you figure out like who is really for you and who you want to match with. But if we are able to see people are adopting this, the people that we created this for are adopting it. Not every feature is going to be a one size fits all and work for everyone. So is this feature that we've created serving the community on OkCupid that we anticipated? If it's serving other communities and we didn't even anticipate it, great. Depending on the engagement and the value they find. And then ultimately the metrics we really look at are, is this improving the experience for people, which generally speaking is, are they getting more likes? Are they getting more matches? Are they having more conversations? Ultimately, we want people to make connection. So if we're able to hit those metrics, that's super important. And then oftentimes everything else will kind of fall into place. Certainly, again, because, sitting on the marketing team, we are also thinking about, how can we get press around this? How can we improve brand perception and brand awareness? And just knowing that if we can have these different moments in time that people are being reminded about OkCupid and hearing about OkCupid and what we're up to, then it really can also ultimately drive growth as well.
I love it. Not saying that you guys did this, but I want to highlight just one of those strategies to do PR is to newsjack, like seeing what's out in the ether, what everybody's talking about, and then kind of being like, how do we fit in here? Now, obviously you want it to make sense, but at the
Totally.
same time, like that's a great way to get PR.
Yeah, exactly. I think to your point, authenticity is so important and
Yeah.
consumers are smart, like they'll know if it's feeling like it's riding out on a situation to be in the news. So I think like to your point, we're thinking about what's important to, people in the world right now and then looking and
Right.
seeing, do we see that our users are talking about that or not? And then we can be able to figure out, what are the areas of focus for us and what's going to make sense for us.
I love it. George is here. What's up, George? We got to go supping soon. Stand up paddleboarding. Angelina's here. And then Ricardo's got a question. If you're working on a smaller, newer version of a dating app, what kind of budget would you say is really needed to break into a pretty saturated market? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think first and foremost, to the point of breaking in, having your key differentiator is so important. And again, just validating that people really do want that, and there's enough of a market, enough of a user base to serve that community. Budget, it I hate to put a number on it
Yeah.
because it can just really vary so much, but I think you can be very scrappy. I think it's important to focus on a few cities to start, thinking about where your users are. Don't go too broad. And certainly where dating apps in general are right now is influencer marketing. Who are the people that are important to your community that they look up to, and working with them, and again making it really authentic. So, not just like, oh, check out OkCupid, download it, but people talking again about your key differentiator, and why they use it and why it's important to them.
Yeah. And I always like to start in the niche market, right? Like you think about OkCupid, you're not going to beat them, right? Like you guys, and you have this questionnaire that's the key differentiator of the product and other dating apps. And so, we work with a few dating apps, and I'm just like, if you're just starting to get going, like you said, Jane, just start in a couple of cities. Like the worst case scenario is you spread yourself too broad and nobody's on the stinking platform. And so you got to get it really dense. And one of the clients we worked with back in the day was just in Pittsburgh, and he's just kind of just made his name in Pittsburgh and then slowly started building it out from there. And then, we approached different cities, but he's in Pittsburgh. It's like, start with the city that you're actually in. If you've got a very
Yeah.
limited budget, that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's the city, that, you're a lot of times people when they're creating a dating app are part of the community they're trying to serve too. So
Yeah.
I think that that's super important.
Love it. Steven's got a great question as well. Yeah, I do. Your email, Steven. Do you worry about competitors stealing your features?
No, I feel like again, there's certainly a lot of overlap with dating apps. A lot of dating apps have similar a la carte features like boosts being shown to more people. A lot of dating apps now do have profile badges. We were the first. But I think like, again, it's just being very clear in the messaging around it about why it serves your user specifically and why you created it. And we really just like don't, of course, being the first to something is always great, especially if it's a new feature, in a moment in time, in like a certain trend when you're trying to get there first. And so you'll be the one with the headline. But we really don't think too much about if someone else creates a certain feature or whatever. I mean, a great example is adding all these different gender and orientations.
Mhm.
Ultimately, that's a good thing. We think it's important to have all these options. So yeah.
I love that. That's a great example, Jane. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Like it is really cool. Like all this stuff that you have here. I love it. Hey, Jane, let me see. Let's do this then. I want to keep continuing. I was trying to figure out whether to ask this later or now. But one of the things I want to talk to you about is, how do you prioritize when you're looking at a product roadmap? How do you prioritize which feature to start building and which one to kind of move to the back burner?
Yeah, impact is, of top interest. And
Mm,
so who is this going to have? For a time we worked on like the rice scores with like reach, impact, et cetera. But just seeing, what is going to have the biggest impact on the most of our users. And, certainly what we end up prioritizing, it doesn't mean that it always is going to be something that is affecting our largest user base, but that is something that comes into play. And just, ultimately also supporting our company values, our employees. Like a lot of people that work at OkCupid really care about the various initiatives that we support. And that's important too, because when you
mhm.
have happy employees who feel really, wedded and engrossed and love the product, it makes for a better product. And so, we're really thinking about all aspects and then just coming out on, what's going to have the greatest impact, what's true to OkCupid. We never want anything to feel inauthentic, or not on brand for our users. And yeah, and then ultimately, how will this bring in new users and attract new people to the platform?
is there a score you have it? You're like, hey, this is the impact. It's 5, and then whoever has the
Yeah,
highest score.
yeah. I will say I'm not always amazing about keeping to the right score. If I feel very passionately about something, I bump it up a little bit. But yeah, there is like a scoring system.
Do you guys just roll it out to a certain section, like subset of like users first and foremost, and then slowly
We
roll it out?
A/B test basically all of our features
I
in
love it.
various ways, or geo test. So it's super important to us that before um, sometimes something's rolled out to everyone all at once, depending on what it is. But there's a lot of testing that goes on, and user research. We have user researcher on our team who does really intense. Granular interviews, again, just like validating what's important to our users, and then also what's important to potential users as well.
I love it. Is that literally like getting on the phone with somebody? Like, hey,
Well,
Jane.
these days it's Zoom. It's a lot
Yeah,
of,
okay. That's true. You're not
yeah,
ringing
video
like this,
conversations,
Jane.
and people come in too sometimes. So
That's cool. I love it. Stephen loves your answer, so I've got a little something. This is what I imagine Stephen doing for your answer.
love
So.
it. Yes, thank you, Stephen. Love that great feedback.
All right. Well, I got some more questions, but I'm going to save it for a little bit. Let's get into the app audit portion of our show. And if you guys want me to take a look, and my guest, obviously, to take a look at your app, just go to appmasters.com/audit, appmasters.com/audit. And this app audit, we've got a big workshop coming up in San Francisco. So if you want to fly out to San Francisco, if you're nearby, come out. We got a few tickets left. It is going to be all about content and connections. And if you guys are looking to optimize your paywalls, really use a platform that's going to help you drive growth, well, check out purchasely.com. They can live A/B test. One of my clients right now that I'm working closely with, we're doing live A/B tests. We're testing out longer paywalls, shorter paywalls, changing out the call to action, all that stuff. You can do that within Purchasely. They'll tell you who's winning, how much more money you're going to be making with these A/B tests too. So really granular detail. Again, it is purchasely.com. All right, Jane, you ready for some dad jokes?
Let's do it. Oh.
I think I hit the video too soon. What were you
No, I was looking up. I actually consulted with my dad to prepare myself for that. I really talk about authenticity. I really went for authentic, true to the source dad jokes.
We can just call it Dorney jokes, A friend of mine, she called me out, like, moms can be funny too. And I'm like, she just became mom. I'm like, okay. I'm sorry. She's a good friend, so I like being called out. Okay. Jane, do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. I'll kick it off. I tried to do relevant to our topic. So why did the marketer break up with their boyfriend?
Why?
Lack of engagement.
I like that one. That's going to be hard to beat. Okay. Remember, we need you guys to vote. Okay. I don't know what we're playing for, Jane. That's what I should be asking before every interview. All right, Jane, I've been telling people about the benefits of eating dried grapes, raising awareness. There you go.
That was
good. Jay, if you thought Jane's joke was better, put S. If you thought my joke was better, then Jane and I will figure out something to play for. Okay, let's take a look at the Ion first day retention time. That's what he said. Okay, assume he go translate all language app. Jane, any 100,000 downloads, pretty decent. 4.6 reviews. Anything stick out to you just looking at the App Store presence? I know we're on the web.
4.6, I mean, that's great. I think you want to be above 4, so it's clear that your users are engaged and are liking it. As far as day one retention, I think it's so important right when someone onboards to during that process confirm why they're there. Like if you're saying that this is going to help you translate, whether you need it for work or when you're traveling, whatever it may be, help remind them throughout the onboarding process why this is the app for them.
Yep.
And also in onboarding, I encourage to ask for people to turn notifications on, because being able to use that channel to re-engage is so important. And you can, use it day 1, day 2, day 3, etc. So I think being able to have a means of engaging with the user when they're not having the app open is so important.
I almost, again, I could be wrong on this, but I like to lean into what makes me different, right? For the longest time, I had growth hacker in our website, and somebody's like, yeah, I don't even know what that means. And I'm like, well, you're not my target audience either, right? Like, and so the, and when he just says, look, I like this instant translation, but I like that voice conversation, translate voice conversation. I'm assuming camera translator. So I would try to lean into this. And then, I think when he does these horizontal screenshots, it takes up too much space. So I would try to do the horizontal just so I can show off more of my features within the App Store. So that's
Yeah.
that's one of the things I would do too. All right, Jane, I'm going to look at the app, and I would love to get your advice on what's the best way to move that over. What's the best way to ask for those push notifications? Because I agree with you. You should do it during the onboarding process.
Yeah, I mean, give the benefit, right? So, why should they have notifications on? For a dating app, it's like, know right when someone liked you, know right when that person responded to your message. So, whether it's, I don't know if there are various like levels on this app or different features you can unlock if you get to a certain, spot, or but I think just making the benefit of having notifications on is super important. And I really do recommend it, like right towards the end of onboarding. It's like you've filled out your information, then it's like, okay, cool. Now, like, make sure you have notifications on so you always know, you've already used the onboarding process to kind of explain, this is why you're here. This is why this is relevant to you. Now keep those notifications on so you're always in the loop.
Aeon, just what Jane said, that onboarding experience, you didn't tell me exactly. So the first page, just so those who are listening to the podcast, the first screen I'm seeing is the paywall. And unfortunately, we have some data. Jane, I want to make this known. And I think every expert should do this. Like sometimes I'll differentiate between opinion versus something that I feel very strongly like data driven, right? Mm-hmm. And here we have data, we have case studies that say, look, have an onboarding experience. Somebody just in the YouTube audience, he had this and he was doing pretty well. And then he added 3 screens right before, reminding the user that, hey, we do instant translation, we do voice translation, conversations, we do camera. And then you hit him with the paywall. He saw like a 200% increase in conversions. So do you want to just remind what the app does? And like Jane said, ask for the push. Now I think on Google, that's automatic opt-in push, which kind of sucks. But at the same time, so you got that benefit as well. I'm also missing the pricing. I know it's very low, but it feels kind of scammy to me when you have pricing so invisible in a way, so hidden. Shall we hit continue, see what happens? See, I'm a little bit nervous to hit continue. It's like trial is usually the best one that wins. So I would start, look at Purchasely, look at this, and just start modifying this and seeing what converts better. And I think with a Google, you do need to run ads because most people do not want to sign up for a subscription. Jane, do you have any thoughts on 2 plans versus 1? This is just promoting the yearly plan of $49.99. Do you have any thoughts on 1 plan versus 2 plans versus 3 plans?
Our most popular is the 6-month, with 3, 6, 12. I think variety is important because you never, especially if you're doing it this early on, an understanding of what someone's propensity to pay might not be as known. So I think having options, free trials is always great, because to me that indicates, okay, they have faith in, what they're offering. So whenever you can, might be able to have the option of a free trial, or I think that's great. But yeah, I think having tiers is important. And then also, dependent on what your app offers, a la carte features too. That also, again, is it's a lower bar of entry for people if they don't want to be spending as much for a subscription, but they might want to have, certain features to unlock just for a one-time use.
Okay. Let's see. How do you say this in Spanish?
Oh no, is this true? Did you win?
I just won the joke battle. Let's see if this plays. Okay, I guess you can see it, but you can't hear it on my phone. Oh, here. Okay.
Acabo de ganar la batalla de bromas.
That's very cool. I feel like from a UI perspective, let me know what you think, Jane. It's where is the camera feature Don't know where that is. There's a lot of space, but now that I've, sort of translated, I see it now, but I don't see where the camera feature is, nor do I see the conversation. Maybe I gotta so I don't see where those features are.
Yeah, I think, and also just like stylized, just give it that like punch that you're looking for. And I also think too, having some sort of, surprise and delight when you do have it translated, like making that exciting, even if it's just like a little sparkle feature that, once it's translated for you, just to give, that feel good moment to your user.
I mean, this is very similar to Google Translate, by the way. And I can see Google has camera right here. Here, where's my mouse? Right here with a purchase. So, Ayan, if the camera feature and the conversation feature and the transcribe feature, whatever those locked features are, I think it's beneficial instead of saying purchase premium, which no one wants to do, really. We want to unlock these features. I'd probably just put those features and just put a big fat lock on them. And I think you can increase your conversion rates that way. Yeah, so he's like, yeah. So he has camera right here, translate multiple languages. So it looks like that's when we have to purchase premium, Jane. That's how we can get those features. I always like to look at the second.
That'll be my gift to you for winning.
You're gonna purchase premium for me? I love it.
For winning the joke.
I love it. So second open, Ayan is showing an ad right now, which I do not mind, especially on Google Play. But the one thing I would do is show the paywall first, allow me to X out of that paywall, and then show me the ad, because it just makes sense, right? On the paywall, I see remove ads for your experience. I hit X, I see an ad, all good, completely understand. You got some room for some banner ads too. Throw some banner ads in there. Why not? Do everything you can. That's my advice. Anything else you want to touch on, Jane, with this app?
No, it all makes sense.
Okay. I apologize, Jane. You are my guest, but we have Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. John says, hi, all. John also said, I don't think you can get away with that pricing so small on Apple. Yeah, Apple's going to probably have some issues with this, like $49.99 right at the very bottom. I would say test the paywall a lot. You got 100,000 downloads, so you're doing pretty well. Test the paywall, optimize it. I'm sure you'll see some success there. All right. And then, so Kevin gave me the vote. Miguel gave me a vote. Angelina, I don't know what that Steve. Okay. And then Ricardo. Thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo's my backup, Jane. If you didn't have a joke, Ricardo always has one. And Nurex is here. And then, yep, we're good. All right, Jane. Round two. But before we get into round two, Jane, I want to ask you this. These questions. Who and how do you guys come up with these new questions?
Our marketing team comes up with the questions, but a lot of people are involved. So internally, we have all employees are able to submit questions, share questions that they think are important. We also talk to journalists, to daters. While ago, it used to be that people could just like write in a question. We don't have that feature anymore, but we do, really source our user base to see, what's important to you, what kind of questions do you want to be able to ask, etc.
I like it. Do you let your users submit some questions too? I don't know if I missed that.
Yeah. Okay. So like people will write in with questions that they're interested in, or, like on social media, we'll share questions that they care about. And we actually very recently we had ChatGPT write a few questions for us too. So.
Oh yeah, any interesting ones?
Yeah, they were good. They were pretty standard dating questions, but like, are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? What would your ideal date be? But they've been popular questions, and they've gotten hundreds of thousands of responses at this point.
That's really cool. Are you married, engaged to be married, or in a relationship that you will lead to marriage? Do you believe in dinosaurs? A deal breaker. That's pretty. That's pretty crazy. Before that, Adam.
We know our users care about like climate change and being environmentally aware. So.
I love it. Jane, don't feel so bad. Okay. Star Projector says, love both jokes. It's a tough one.
Thank you, Star Projectors. I appreciate that.
All right, Jane, here's time to make it up. You want me to go first? Or you want to go first?
I kind of want to call him Ricardo.
Oh, you want to call on Ricardo? All right, Ricardo. Let's see if Ricardo's got one. All right. While he's got one, you're gonna sub in for Jane right now. She's calling you off the bench. All right, Jane. I'll start off first then, while Ricardo thinks, because there's a bit of a delay on the live. Jane, Gucci has a new line of clothes for babies. You want to know what's called?
What's it called?
It's called Gucci Goo. There you go. Beat that, Ricardo. Come on, man. Let's
I
go.
know.
All right. Let's see if Ricardo's got one, and then we'll wait just a bit. So, Jane, I picked out this app just for you, by the way, because dating is so geographical, regional, a lot of localizations that you got to really take a part of. So I was like, okay, let me try to find something that fits that. So this is Nisa's app, and she wants to grow downloads, or he, sorry. But yeah. So John, I don't know, any advice for this? So you can see events in Bali.
I think, a marketing thing that would be great for you to drive downloads is brand ambassadors at events that are already happening. Talk about like meeting your users where they are. People who are at events in Bali are people who are wanting to go to more and hearing about the latest ones. So sending people to IRL on the ground, getting people to download at events like that, depending what it is, it could be, if you download the app, you get a free cocktail, you get a free snack. So I think that really can drive awareness. And it also adds that like personal touch that sometimes it's hard as an app. You have a physical person there at the event who can really, talk to you about the app. So that was like my first thought when I saw this app.
I love it. It reminds me, like one of the first few days I was at an event, there was this like Carvana. I was like, Carvana? Yeah, you can buy a car through an app. And I was like, what? Why would anybody do this? And I'm in the app space already, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? I bought a car through Carvana in 2020. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. But I love it. I love what you're saying. Like, hey, go to these events. I think that personal touch just does something to it. And also like getting to meet the founder or just the person behind the brand does so much more than just seeing, like for you, Jane, like it was so great. Like I gotta, OkCupid, I think of Jane now, right? Like, and I think it's important to have that.
Yeah, no, I think that personal touch, and to your point, where people are on their phones so much. And so being able to see that there are real people behind it who are working on it and who, are open to your feedback too. I mean, you can have someone download it and they can give you feedback on the spot. And that helps a lot too. Another thing more so on the App Store side is you can always submit in-app events, which I think this app particularly could really benefit from because, you can say, we have this event coming up in June. So you create an in-app event. It's a relatively new feature on the App Store where, it's a special area of your listing that shows like this is going to be available at this time. And Apple does tend to pay notice to those. And so they might even like feature you if you're, if you put an in-app event in, you're showing Apple that you're using the different features available to them. And so then they might even feature you on the Today tab in your area, which can really, I mean, we've seen a 20% increase in, this is obviously specific to Apple, but 20% increase in iOS, registrations the day that we've had like a Today tab feature. So it can certainly drive growth for you there.
That's really cool. That's a great idea. I love it. You should do it. Get it done. I think the other thing I want to point out is really focus on the ASO side of things. So when I search for Bali, and I'm in Indonesia, by the way, I can see that you're not ranked. So maybe even just put C. It's fine. I know you're trying to build a brand, which is great, but at the same time, you could put it at the very end, and having the keywords in the leftmost is going to help your ASO. Will it make a dramatic difference? Probably not, because you don't have that many downloads or reviews right now. But at the same time, once you start having those, and maybe you start going to these events, I'm just going to say John, then once you start driving usage, you will start slowly going up. And you can see like they're not like huge apps that are dominating the term Bali in Indonesia. And then I might even think about Bali in Australia. I went to Bali a few years ago. There's a lot of Aussies there. So think about even trying to get into that. So you're number 7 in Australia, but that's great. So start thinking through that strategy as well, the ASO side. Okay. Jane, do you see the joke down there? You see the comments?
I don't. I missed it.
Okay. I don't want to pop it up. Let's see how I send this to you. You want me to do it? Or I want you to do it. Ricardo put it in there.
Well, but we'll just know that this is mine. Thank you, Ricardo. But this will be my contribution.
Okay. We'll get into the app, John. Don't worry about it. Jane caught me off guard. Jane, why do okay, here, you go for it.
Okay, why do astronauts use Linux?
Why, Jane?
Because they can't open Windows in space. Thank you,
These
Ricardo.
techie geeky ones, they always get the win, okay? I love it. Good job, Ricardo. All right. Let's take a look at the app real quick, and then we will here. All right. See. Let's get those downloads. Jane, I also think I think Facebook has this feature where you can, target people potentially traveling or traveling to this location. So that might be a great way to drive usage, Nisa, is just targeting people, looking at Facebook, looking at maybe even Bali groups, Aussie groups if you don't have a budget. But people traveling to Bali are most interested in your app, right? Okay. You don't see this, but I see the location thing pop up. Okay. People allow me to track ATT. Cool. Notifications. What do you think? What do you think about this, Jane? Like push notification just pops up. Any thoughts?
I mean, I would ideally delay that, right? After there's been a little bit more scrolling. And again, just, I know that sometimes what you're allowed to actually configure can vary. But, again, if there's any means of making it clear on why someone should have these notifications, is always a great thing.
Yeah. I think I would back to our question, all the questions, Jane, like ask some questions. Discover the best venues and events in Bali. Book your event, find events around you. What kind of event are you looking for? I've got a family, I've got a wife, so I'm looking more for family oriented stuff, not like nightlife, but like maybe get some early data from your users. Even if you get a few and you're like, oh, everybody's looking for nightlife, then you can start really figuring out, okay, well, nightlife, that's what I need to promote. So I would try to get user feedback, especially in the early days, as much as possible. Okay, I'm going to don't allow. Top venues. This is cool. I don't know how you're going to make money, but maybe it's because it's when I book through, maybe. If I say go here. Yeah, link tree. Okay, it takes me to a link tree. Nisa, what is happening? I don't know what to do. I don't know. I think maybe here's my assumption. Oh, I'm going to make money by charging these businesses. Jane, do you have any thoughts on that business model?
I mean, I think obviously like the more you can generate on your own app, the better. And I think also to that point of linking out somewhere else is always difficult. You want to keep people on your platform. So a means of being able to, let people book within C, even, potentially like creating your own events or, and I also think to your point of, dependent on what you're looking for, it'd be great because I don't know what inventory as far as events in Bali is like. It certainly seems like they're a good number there, but like being able to say, oh, you can customize the experience. So maybe it's that, you have the optionality to book, a boat for the day with your family or,
right.
Customize it so it has a little bit of a broader reach while still kind of serving the community that you're looking to.
I love that idea. I think, a friend of mine is in the travel space and they make money through affiliate marketing. So only when you book tours and guides and all that stuff do they make money. And it's a great model for them. But I think with events, I think it's a little bit harder. And I agree with Jane. I just want her to say it first. But I if you can control the revenue and not be beholden to an outside source like these businesses, because I'm just assuming, Nisa, like if you are thinking like, I'm just going to charge these businesses, like you're going to have to show, it's a chicken and egg problem now. Like you're going to have to show users before they even throw $1 your way. So own that user, own the revenue model of your user as well. That's what I would say. But good luck. Looks like a good app. Anything else, Jane, you want to talk about with this?
No, I mean, yeah, I second the good luck. And I mean, if I'm ever in Bali, if I'm ever lucky enough to be in Bali, I will check it out. So.
All right. I love it. Okay. We do need some votes. So if you guys thought Ricardo's, AKA Jane's vote was better, put J. And then if you thought my joke was better, put S as well. Christine's here. Hey, Christine. She said feedback makes the world go round. Completely agree. Christine's part of Help Shift. So go check them out if you guys want. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go through my notes real quick and see if I missed anything. No, is there anything that I missed that you want to make sure that we cover?
I mean, I feel like we've covered all the really, things that are so important to us here at OkCupid, but,
Yeah.
certainly to the point of feedback makes the world go round. OkCupid, if you are an OkCupid user or if you become an OkCupid user, of course, like reach out. I think my LinkedIn might be somewhere, but,
Yes.
Jane at okcupid.com, you can email me directly. We're always looking to see what's important to our users. And yeah, I think I would just, reiterate the point that understanding where your users are in their journey or how they're feeling for us, obviously about dating and relationships, but having that flexibility to understand that like what people are looking for, is variable and might change from time to time. And so just really being, finding your users where they are, not only within your platform, but then on social media, when they're sending you feedback and your app store reviews. I think just like really having your pulse on that is hyper important.
I love it. How do you prioritize feedback? Which feedback to actually take seriously? Which feedback to be like, okay, thank you, Jane, but I'm going to move on.
Yeah. We certainly look at the demographics that make up the majority of our users and the ones that we're interested in acquiring. Getting feedback on the app is super important just because we know that those people are actively using it. And of course, we want our customers to be happy. And so certainly prioritize a lot of that feedback. But all feedback is taken into consideration. And then, when we find the themes that are coming up there, that's what we focus on.
I love that you said that, themes, right?
Yes.
Like themes. Don't just take one feedback at a time. Do it by themes. I love it. Kevin says, I forgot to answer your question, Kevin, so I'm glad you brought it up. Is Purchasely something to replace Revenue Cat or add on? Don't quote me on this, but I don't know if they have a partnership actually. No, they work hand in hand together. So you connect Revenue Cat and then you can see it. Purchasely does all the paywall stuff and then the UI, UX, and A/B testing, all that. You can do that within Purchasely and different pricing too. You're going to have to create those subscriptions, but you can do all the pricing within Purchasely. So no, they work hand in hand together. Okay. I love it, Jane. I think we covered a lot. Last sponsor I want to shout out is airbridge.io. They are one of our sponsors for our upcoming San Francisco event and workshop. And if you're looking for an MMP, that is going to help you figure out which channels are the best, which type of demographics lead to the best engagement, answering all the questions, leading to the best matches. Well, go check them out. It is airbridge.io, airbridge.io. And like all our sponsors, just let them know you heard it from me. So I get a little bit of love as well. I don't get any love in terms of monetization. I just like I don't need that. I need the the words of affirmation type of love. That's what I'm in mood for. And Jane's LinkedIn is put into the show notes. So if you're on your podcast app, you can tap on her LinkedIn profile, connect with her directly. And OkCupid website's on there, on YouTube, podcast app, all that stuff. Jane, anything else? Any last parting words?
This was so fun.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I'm going to work on my jokes. Thank you, Kevin. Oh, okay.
You didn't win that second one, so you want to go one more? We can go one more. What do you think?
I think I'm tapped out on the jokes, but this was really fun, and I appreciate everyone for joining.
All right, Jane. Well, I got one. Okay. I told a joke on a Zoom meeting, and no one laughed. Jane, it turns out I'm not remotely funny. There you go. All right. Next week, we got my friend Behe, who runs growth for CoinStats, a really popular crypto tracker app. He's going to come on and we're going to talk all about subscriptions, what's working, how do you price your subscriptions, what kind of paywalls are working, and why some experts that we see more in the UX field might be wrong about what they're saying. So we might call them out, we might not. We'll see what happens. So join us every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. And then go check out OkCupid, okcupid.com, or search for OkCupid if you want to connect with Jane. Just click on any of the show notes in your favorite media consumption app. Jane, thank you so much for coming on and doing this.
Thanks so much. This is great.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.